So, welcome to another episode of Owin's Car Care series. So, in the last episode, we discussed oil change, how many miles you have to drive your car before you change your oil, what type of oil is best for your car, synthetic and non-synthetic, and how to check when you've exceeded the mileage for oil change or whether you've not, where to check in your car. So, welcome back to today's episode. And with me here again is Mr. Dafe.
Yeah, thanks for having me, D.
So, still on the oil change, we did cover a lot of things because of time factor. So, my first question for you today is, you know, most times when we drive to the mechanic, you can even hear the mechanic say, boss, you can wait to like within the next 5 to 10 minutes. I will change this oil for you. So, my question is, when exactly is the best time to drain engine oil from your car? Should the engine be hot or should it be cold?
Okay. Yeah, I think the best time for you to drain your oil from your car is when the car is hot, when the engine is hot. Reason being that with the level of and thickness of the oil, it becomes a bit lighting when you when it is being introduced to heat. When heat is being introduced to it, the oil flows easily when heat is being introduced to it. So if the engine is hot, it allows the oil to drain completely from the engine compared to when it's cold. When it's cold, there are some part of the oil that will stick to some other metal part of the engine without allowing it to flow. Now, we've also heard where some people will tell you your transmission oil, you cannot change it when it's hot. It is both of them, it is best changed when when the system is hot.
Okay. So, um, oil is drained properly from the engine when
When
the
the engine
engine
is
is
hot.
hot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's understandable because I used to wonder, like, is this okay? Why are you rushing to change the oil when the engine is red hot or something like that? So, my next question is, we are on the last episode we talked about, for people that use their car within the city where you don't have to drive around all the time,
Yeah.
unlike people that use their own to travel and then the car eventually gets to, is it you said driving temperature, or what was it? Is it
Working temperature
working
of the car.
temperature, compared to people that drive around city, go to school,
Yeah.
run and come back, go to friends event and all that? So I'm saying, why should people who drive short distance service their car every 6 months, even though they didn't drive up to 3,000 mile
Yeah.
mileage?
Yeah, it's a very nice question. The reason is um, because of the level of introduction of fuel that might go into the oil sump. Now, if you take note, when you start your car at the initial state, maybe you start the car for the first day, that period, the car will rev high. It will run above 1,000 revolution. It's always between 1,500 revolution. It will run for like 2 minutes and eventually it will drop down. That high revving allow a lot of air, and when it allows a lot of air to meet up with the ratio of the air and fuel, it introduces a lot of fuel into the system. Most times, those fuel are not completely burnt.
Okay.
The car is trying to heat up immediately so he can get to his working temperature. So those fuel sometimes they penetrate into through the piston down to the oil sump, thereby weakening the viscosity of the oil.
Okay.
So with that oil that has already penetrated into the oil sump, it affects the lubricating um factors of that oil. So it will now lead to, since the oil is not strong enough to lubricate the system, it might not lead to wear and tear that will eventually knock the engine if it's not properly taken care of. So it is now best for you, since you are driving a short distance, it is now best for you to always try to service your car within 6 months, because if you allow that oil stay for too long within the system, it might affect the car. Now, why is it different for people that do long distance? When the car drives a long distance, heat is being introduced into the engine. That heat is enough to evaporate the fuel.
Okay, that extra fuel that
Yes,
went
the
into
penetrated fuel. The heat is enough to evaporate that fuel out of the car. Now it might pass through the PC valve. It is called positive crankcase ventilation valve. It will take off. If you take proper note, in those days when you see some cars, the 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 oil is being the crankcase housing, there's a pipe that is being vented out into the atmosphere. But now it's not like that again. The manufacturers have changed the system. They connect it through a valve. It's a one directional flow valve. It's called a check valve. It allows the flow of the evaporated air through the engine back into the manifold again to be reused. So when the engine gets hot, if you use your car regularly on a long distance where the engine will really get hot, those fuel from within the oil housing will evaporate out of the system. So it is not safe at all for you to drive your car on a short distance and allow the oil to exceed 6 months.
6 months. Okay, so in summary,
Yeah.
you're just saying people that drive their car within city and don't have to go for long
For long
journey.
journey.
Most times they don't drive that car up to the working temperature of
Yeah,
that
of the car.
of the car. So and
As required
as
by the
required.
manufacturer.
So most times fuel, like those fuel that gets into the engine in the morning when you start up your
Yeah.
car, then
It penetrates to the oil sump where you have your oil, where the oil is stored.
okay. So most times
Yeah.
you don't burn it off
You don't burn
due
it off,
to
yeah.
the short distance
Due
you
to
cover
due
during
to
the
the short
day.
distance covered,
So
yeah.
it's best for you to change your,
Oil within
unlike the ones that use their car
car
for far
for long
distance, where the
distance,
car
yeah.
eventually gets to its working temperature, and then those extra
Yeah.
fuel that are introduced into the engine are burnt off and the rest of it.
Yeah.
Okay, that explains a lot. So we also spoke about I talked about what is it called, synthetic oil and non-synthetic oil. So my question: how do we even identify which one is synthetic? Because I know that this some of this oil they come with numbers.
Yeah.
Those numbers on that, is that like 0W20, 5W30? Are those numbers identifying which one is synthetic and the ones that are not synthetic? I don't know what are those numbers of those
Okay.
and what do they mean? Is that
Those numbers, that's a very fine question, by the way. Those numbers are not any indication that they are synthetic oil. If you're buying a synthetic oil, it's always written on it synthetic
synthetic?
oil. If it's a blended oil, it's mostly written on it. And if it's a
Blended
conventional,
oil is the non-synthetic.
yeah, it's a mixture of synthetic
And
and non-synthetic.
Okay.
Then if it's a normal conventional oil,
Mm.
it is also written on it. Now I prefer using Mobi. I prefer using Mobi as during my work. For Mobi, a typical example of a synthetic oil is like Mobi 1, Mobi 3000, and sometimes let's do Mobi 1 and Mobi 3000. Then the blended oil is Mobi 2000. Then the normal conventional oil is your Mobi 1000. Now it is easy to identify if it's from Mobi. The Mobi 1000 has a blue cap, Mobi 2000 has a black cap, and Mobi 3000 has a grey cap. Then there's also another section differ from these three I just mentioned. It is Mobi 1, Mobi 1 is on its own. Now the value written on the oil indicates the viscosity number. Now, what is viscosity? It's simply the rate at which liquid flows. The rate at which liquid flow. Now, you agree with me that honey and water, which will flow faster? It
Water,
is water. So it means the viscosity of honey is higher than that of water. Which other example can we use? Let's use oil, engine oil and grease. Which one will flow faster? Oil will flow faster than grease. So the viscosity of grease is higher. Now those values you see, for example, 5W30. The W there actually means its value at winter, at cold temperature. Also, it also means the value at room temperature when the car is not hot. At room temperature when the car is not hot. Now, it means, and also that if you take note, it has two numbers there, 5 and 30. The 30 on the other side is the value of the viscosity when the engine is hot around 100 degrees Celsius. 100 degrees Celsius. But this other 5 degree, it has various number. Sometimes it's like minus 5 degrees Celsius, minus 10 degrees Celsius. I think 0W20 has like minus 25 degrees Celsius. So if you now look at it, the value there is just the viscosity value. It means for at room temperature, this oil performs this way. The viscosity value, the rate at which it will flow is 5. I don't know what they calibrate the viscosity with, but it's 5. Then when the car is hot, around 100 degrees Celsius, the oil will now flow as if, mind you, we remember we initially said when the temperature is high, it's easier for the oil to flow. But now, if you take note, 5 and 30, which one is higher? 30 is higher. It means they now add some other additives to the oil to make it have two viscosity value. One particular oil has two viscosity value. Now, when the car is hot, the oil now changes this viscosity value to like to 30. So now, if the viscosity oil value is 30, it means 30 flows slower compared to 5. Now, it means when the car is hot, the oil becomes sticking. But physically, you don't feel it's not like that. But based on the chemical component that is inside, it now makes the oil to act as if it's hot, so that it will retain its lubricating factor to help the engine to work. So it is very, very important to take note of those numbers when you are using your car. It is very, very important. But for me, I think for us within this
region where our region is always hot,
use 5W30.
Okay. So that answers my question. So then another question I wanted to ask is oil filter. For every time you change oil in the car, the oil filter is also changed. So why is it necessary that you must change your oil filter whenever you want to change oil in the car? Well,
your oil, the purpose of your oil is not just to lubricate the engine, it's to clean it also. It's to cool off the engine also.
Oil filter helps cool off the engine too.
No, the engine, the oil in the car. Okay. It helps to cool off the engine. It helps to lubricate the engine. It also clean up the engine. So the purpose of the filter in the car is to trap up those debris that will flow through, because the oil flows through the filter and sends through the oil jacket, the oil pocket, send it to the top of the engine, the top cylinder, and it flows back. Now, when there are deaths within the engine, the filter traps it and allow it to go. Now it gets to a point where oil, that filter will get clogged and oil will not pass through. So it is best advisable to always change your filter
where you change,
as long as you are changing your oil.
Okay. Okay, so the summary is that the filter is in the engine is there to trap some debris in the car to prevent it from cycling around the engine and causing wear and tear, and it also helps cooling down the oil itself in the engine.
So when you don't change the filter and it gets clogged, there will not be free passage of oil.
Okay. Well, I think with this we've come to the end of oil change in the car when it comes to servicing, because servicing encompasses a lot of,
and it is very, very important.
Very vast.
It is very, very important to adhere to.
So I'm glad we are taking our time to break down this so that people will know what to do when they go out to change their oil, what type of oil they should buy as to regards to the weather of our country compared to, because it's not the type of oil we use here. It's the type of those in Canada where there are places. At least we've heard that for Nigerians, I think the best oil for our cars here is the 5W30 because of our weather. So I think we'll stop here for today so that when we come next time we can go into other aspects of car maintenance and servicing. So which one do you think we should talk about next time? You're the expert here, so from oil, which other aspect of this?
Yeah, I think we'll talk we'll talk more on overheating.
Overheating, okay.
And we'll also talk about bypassing of our thermostat and running our fan direct. I think is one major thing we experience here in our country.
In our country, yes, you just start your car
and your fan is on.
No problem. So on our next episode, we'll be discussing car overheating, how to prevent it, and what causes overheating, thermostat, and the rest of it. So stay tuned and thank you.
Stay blessed.